We hope you've been enjoying the North Shore Drive podcast. As always, you can find us on your favorite podcasting apps, say it on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our Monday, Wednesday, Friday episodes, as well as daily content that comes out from all of our sports writers here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. This segment is brought to you by Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. For over 40 years, their firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. You can call it 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for a free consultation. That's Goldberg, Persky, and White. Ray, let's talk about the defense now, because I feel like you can go a lot of different directions to talk positively about the defense, but I'm not going to go with one specific position. I'm going to talk about the depth, and I want your thoughts here, because we've seen plenty of veteran guys take days off. We've seen yesterday Cam Heyward, TJ Watt took a day off. We've seen Joey Porter's been injured and they've been resting him. Darius Slay's taken vet days off. They've had these guys do this, and whenever they do this, it doesn't seem like the defense really misses a beat. Now, again, maybe that's because of the Steelers' offense is just that bad. Maybe the Steelers' offense can get pushed around by anybody, but Brandin Echols is a fourth-string corner on this team right now. I think there's some defenses that you've covered, Ray, that he might have been a starting cornerback on for the Steelers. Yeah. So having a guy like that is big. And I also see guys like Ekuale and Yahya Black being your top defensive lineman off the bench, even though Yahya Black's a fifth-round rookie. I'm impressed by what I've seen of all of those types of guys throughout camp.
Yeah, I would say, if we did the show, Chris, before the Jalen Ramsey trade, I think secondary might have been one of the thinnest positions on this team. But, it's funny how just one acquisition, one guy can really stabilize a whole unit, because now I think it's actually pretty deep. You look, you got Porter, Ramsey, and Saleh as your three starters. And then you have Brandin Echols, who I think he's played really well during camp. Like I wouldn't have any issues if one of those guys is injured, that he can go out and he can hang and be a starter for a short amount of time. You still have Corey Trice. Now, Corey Trice is injured, so I don't know the extent of that injury, but if Corey Trice comes back, I think they're going to want to work with him. James Pierre. If James Pierre is on this team, Chris, it's going to be because of his abilities on special teams. But he's been really good at corner in practice. He's made a bunch of interceptions in the first week of padded practices. So, yeah, I think the secondary overall right now is probably among I don't want to say the strongest, I think the deepest positions on this team. And I think if you want to look at the absolute deepest position, just from 1 through 4, I think it's outside linebacker. I've been really impressed with Jack Sawyer. That is a clear upgrade depth-wise over what they've had the last couple of years. To me, he's looking like he's a guy who could potentially down the road, be a starter for this football team. And saying that after only 2 weeks of practice might be a little bit of hyperbole, but he just fits the bill. He looks like a Steelers player. And I don't know if you were watching him yesterday on one-on-ones, but he beat Stephen Jones 3 out of 4 reps, and he made it look really easy on 2 of them. So I've been really impressed with Jack Sawyer and what he's brought to the table.
Jack Sawyer, when I looked at his tape, I thought, okay, he's going to be a good run stuffer. He's going to be physical. He's going to bring it, but he's not really a developed pass rusher. It's going to take him time to figure that out. So bring him in on like run heavy downs and just be like, hey, just go get somebody, play him opposite of Nick Herbig, like play him on the strong side, Herbig on the weak side. And you can say, okay, Sawyer, you stuff the run, and Herbig, you good after the quarterback if it's play action. Like I could see something like that, but he's getting after the quarterback too in these practices. And I'm impressed by that. Like you said, and maybe I'll even expand that. I think linebacker as a whole, outside or inside, is very deep. You brought up Sawyer and Herbig. How about Holcomb and Harrison as backup linebackers? Holcomb was brought here, 3 years ago to be the guy who was going to be the guy who Patrick Queen is now. Now Patrick Queen's joined by Peyton Wilson, who's flying everywhere, making all sorts of hits, all sorts of plays. And Cole Holcomb, he's looked pretty good. Like I think if either one of Queen or Wilson went down, Holcomb could fill in and it wouldn't compromise the defense. Now, certainly, they've missed the talents of whoever their starter is, but he would still keep up the defense. And Malik Harrison is a big physical dude who can help stuff the run. It's to the point where Mark Robinson, a guy who I think has become a training camp darling over the years because he's just a hard hitter. He wins backs on backers a lot. He's really fun to watch when he picks up a head of steam. But it's to the point where he might not make the final cut if all these guys are here and they choose to we're only keeping 4 inside linebackers this year. But as a whole, I think the linebackers are deep, and it kind of follows what this entire defense has become.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Terrell Austin spoke to this back in the spring when he talked to us during minicamp. He said this is the best and deepest group of inside linebackers that he's had. And, Terrell has been here since 2019, and I think we all know they've been trying to replace Ryan Shazier, and they just haven't been able to do it. But Peyton Wilson, man, he looks, and you could put him out there in any situation, Chris, and he looks really good. Like the expectation going into camp, okay, yeah, he's going to get a shot to be a 3-time inside linebacker. He's going to do great in coverage, which he has done. I mean, that Kenny Gainwell matchup that Mike Tomlin has put out there throughout training camp. Mm-hmm. Peyton wins more than he loses with those. But he's been really good in the run game too. He stuck his nose there in goal line yesterday and was making plays. So he's really intent on showing those coaches what he can do. To me, I don't want to say he cemented the spot 2 weeks in camp, but Chris, I think he's pretty close to doing that. He's been that good for me. And then, depth-wise, it's going to be interesting. Does Mark Robinson make it as a fifth inside linebacker strictly because he's really good on special teams? Is Carson Bruner somehow in the mix? Could he be that fifth guy if he shows he can play special teams? It's going to be interesting to see what they do there. I think in all likelihood, if they do keep 5 inside linebackers, it's probably going to be Mark Robinson, who's entering the last year of his rookie contract. You could probably sneak Bruner onto the practice squad, and then Bruner could be your Mark Robinson of the future. But again, I think the theme is it's their best and it's their deepest inside linebacker group in quite some time.
And like you said, the outside linebacker is pretty deep. We talked about the cornerbacks. Let's talk about the defensive line a little bit. I brought up Ekuale and Yahya Black. Ekuale seems to be the primary nose backup. Whenever Benton comes out, he goes in, and he looks like he gets it. Like when I watch him get off the ball, he is quick to get into a move and attack. And I think that is a really good sign because the Steelers, it's important not just to have strong and strong starters up front. You need guys that can come in, replenish, give Cam Heyward and Derek Harmon and Keeanu Benton a good rest and not compromise the run defense. That's something that teams like the Eagles and the Ravens are going to bank on, and I think did bank on at times. They wore the Steelers defense down and late in the season. You just see them like they're huffing and puffing because the starters are tired and the backups just can't hold up to those guys. Yeah. But I've been impressed by Yahya Black. I thought that Yahya Black was going to be like a fun project, and maybe in 3 years we'd see him get more playing time. He's running with the ones on Sunday with Cam Heyward out, and like that shows a lot of faith that they have in him and Harmon to play around Benton. And again, like Ekuale comes in, fills in for you there. This could also be a deep defensive line, Ray.
Yeah, I don't know if this is good or bad, but to me, Yahya Black has been their best reserve defensive lineman. I think he's actually been better than Ekuale. He's disruptive. He bats down passes. I mean, that's not a fluke. I asked Mike Tomlin about that early in camp, and it's something they stress. They saw Black do that in college, and it's certainly something that they value within their defense. And, for a 5th-round pick, man, he certainly looks the part, and he's playing the part too. Now, I would argue against you a little bit. I think secondary and linebackers, yeah, that's deep. I could see the Steelers maybe adding after final cutdowns to the defensive line group, not necessarily to replace Black or Ekuale, but to me, has Loudermilk or Lee or
I see you there.
Anybody else looking to be like number 6 among that group. Has anyone really impressed you there? So
not really, and that's a good point.
Yeah, so that's really what I'm looking at here. I think last year they kept 7 defensive linemen. I can see them only keeping 6. Maybe you keep extra defensive backs and extra linebackers just because, in my opinion, I think this is probably the weakest spot on your football team, even though it's strong, when you look at starter-wise. I think it's actually a solid group starter-wise, but I'm not sure when you get into like 6, 7, 8, I'm not sure that it's a very deep group right now.
Mike Tomlin likes to say when someone doesn't practice, it's an opportunity for someone else. I think some of these guys have taken those opportunities to show, hey, keep us in mind in case something happens. But the only way to really tell that is when it happens in the games. And the first game is this upcoming weekend on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll have our guy Jerry Dulac there. But we still got several practices to go before we get there. We'll be covering all of those at Saint Vincent College throughout the week. I'm Chris Carter. He's Ray Fittipaldo. Thanks again for tuning into the North Shore Drive podcast and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you want to read all our written work, it's at post-gazette.com. You go there. You can check all of our reports, all of our skinny posts, all of our camp observations. We have been keeping up day to day. Every single time we see a practice, we give you notes on the reps, who's winning, who's losing, and all the updates you need from Steelers training camp. We'll keep it here with the North Shore Drive podcast throughout the week. We'll be back. We are here Monday, Wednesday, Friday on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our daily content that comes out from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll be back here Wednesday with more from the North Shore Drive podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all the sports coverage from the Post-Gazette that we have to offer, visit post-gazette.com.